We have so many educationists joining us today, teachers. Sorry about that. I think I dropped out by mistake. So before we begin, why don't we just go through how are we going to interact with each other and make this very, very lively. And it shouldn't be just a one way that we are speaking, you're listening. We want to hear from you as well. So two ways we can do it. One is that we will be, you can share whatever you have to say in the chat box and we can interact that way. And the second is through Menti. Now, we have been online for so long now, more than 2 years, so I'm sure we all know how to use Menti. But so I'll just explain in short how we're going to be doing it. One is that we'll be sharing the link for the question in the chat box. You can just click on it and then answer the question that you see there. If that is difficult, you can go to www.menti.com and type the code that has been given here. So why don't we just experiment right now? So I'm sharing the link on the chat box. I request everyone to please go to the chat box and click on the link and go to the Menti and answer the question. So my question is that now, since it's vacation time and many of us must have spent some really nice times with our near and dear ones, with our families, our children, going for trips or vacations, it's a nice holiday mood going on. So we just wanted to know from you that where all have you visited during these vacations? Would you like to share with us over here? So yes, we have some nice responses coming in. Kerala Temple, Kodaikanal, our native place, enjoying with my child at home, lovely. Mummy's house, and not gone anywhere. I know some of us, especially CBSE schools, since the exams are on, we don't have vacation. So I know that's there. Some have gone to Goa, Dandeli, to the beach, to Rishikesh, to Bangalore. My goodness, it's lovely to see the wonderful responses. And everyone has seemed to have really had a wonderful time, especially going to your native place. It's such a lovely feeling of going home, isn't it? To our comfort zone, to people we love. Or we are visiting other places with people who we really care about, our near and dear ones. So it's lovely to see. Some have been for their cousin's wedding, and many of them have been at home, because I can see the word home quite large over here. And wonderful. We have 100 teachers who have responded to this question. Ooty is also a popular destination. Tirupati, native place to visit the family god. Excellent. And someone who had a staycation, that is just staying at home and enjoying the vacation. That's also lovely. I have a lot of responses on the chat box. Oh, Krishna Kumar has been to Kana Shanti Vanam. That's excellent. Really happy to see that. As you know, maybe the videos from the beginning was from Kana Shanti Vanam. And it's really a heaven on earth. I will vouch for that. I myself spent around 5 days in Kana in the past 2 weeks. So, all right, wonderful. Great to hear from all of you that so many of you have enjoyed your vacation. Some stayed at home, some came for Bandara. Excellent. Many have said Kana Shantivanam. I'm really delighted to read that. Nainital, mother's home, family deity, and Thanjavur. Veena Baghele's mom visited home, and someone went to Shillong, someone went to Wayanad. That's excellent. So it's great to hear from all of you all that many of you all have been enjoying a vacation, traveling at home, or whether it be just staying at home with your family. It's been a great time. You've been relaxed, you've been happy. So you can continue sharing your responses. I'll just stop sharing this screen over here. So it was great that everyone has actually shared such lovely news that you've had a good time. And so here we've been going outside or even staying within our homes. But now in the next 5 days, we are going to journey within to that really peaceful place, to that happy place, to that place where we feel so centered. And where is that place? It's nowhere else except within us, in our hearts. And the next 5 days, we'll journey there, we'll stay there, and we learn how to visit that place whenever we feel like recreating that peace and joy. So many of you all may be joining for the first time and you might be wondering what is heartfulness. So heartfulness is nothing but living one's life with the guidance of the heart. And through a simple set of practices, including meditation and relaxation, we learn to regulate the mind and purify the heart. This helps us to transform from within and expand our potential to the maximum possible limit in this one lifetime. And also a little bit about Heartfulness Education Trust. It was born with the vision that the most effective way to transform society is to reimagine and rethink the purpose of education and the role of the heart in this most noblest of professions, the teaching profession. And through this, we envision that we will be able to create an effective learning environment and a very heartful classroom culture. And our signature courses have continuously been designed to equip everyone within the school community, whether it be school leaders, teachers, students, or even parents. We equip them with simple heartfulness tools, practices for their personal transformation, along with techniques, cognitive skill developments, and value-based curriculums also, which helps them acquire excellence, both teachers and students. So maybe we can watch a short video about the Heartfulness movement for those who are joining our webinar for the first time and who don't know about heartfulness. So I request Vinay sir to share the video about the Heartfulness movement right now.
In a world full of chaos, stress, and anxiety, we all need a moment of peace. A moment when we let go of all worries. A moment that charges us to take on life's challenges. A moment when we plunge within ourselves and come out refreshed. A moment of simplicity. A moment of happiness. The source of real happiness lies within each of us, in our hearts. We just need to learn to connect with it.
Our entire life is led by feelings and inspirations. And that is the role of the heart. And when we manage to listen to the feelings and capture the inspirations that comes from within, I think we can master our life by listening to heart again and again.
Heartfulness meditation is a form of Raja Yoga that teaches us how to connect to our heart. As one learns how to meditate deeply, letting go of all mental complexities and tuning into the heart, a sense of inner balance and calmness begins to prevail.
The whole exercise of fine-tuning the heart with the mind is through this meditation on the heart. That's why we call this process Heartfulness Meditation.
This simple yet effective system has been prevalent for more than 100 years. Today, it is followed by over 1 million people across 120 countries. Thousands of meditation, retreat, and research facilities serve as centers where individuals from all walks of life, diverse nationalities, different religious backgrounds, various social and economic circumstances come together, transcending boundaries in an atmosphere of love, trust, and brotherhood. With a significant online presence, the Heartfulness app, YouTube channel, Heartfulness Magazine, and a rich body of literature makes the practice easily available to seekers. The Heartfulness Institute is a nonprofit organization that brings the Heartfulness meditation and relaxation methods to individuals, corporations, universities, schools, and communities. Thousands of volunteers and more than 6,000 certified trainers around the globe allow the services of the Institute to reach individuals totally free of charge. The vision of the Founding Fathers has been to create a society that is heart-centered, loving, and compassionate. Change in society can happen only through a change in each individual. Heartfulness is both an individual practice as well as a unifying movement.
So thank you so much, Vinay sir, for that. So I hope that's given everyone an idea about what our heartfulness movement is about and what heartfulness is all about. So we are so happy. We at Heartfulness are really happy to bring this webinar series to all of you. As you know, this webinar series is called the Heartful Teacher. It's a 5-day program and it's about 2 hours every day, 5 to 7 p.m. And we'll delve deep into some of the soft skills. And these sessions will be integrated with the experiential aspect of heartfulness tools and techniques. The basic idea here is that while academic and vocational skills can be taught, soft skills have to be caught or imbibed. And our Heartfulness offers you this meditation and introspection tools, which will help you make all these soft skills part and parcel of yourself. Now, today we have a very distinguished speaker with us, and I feel really honored to introduce to you our esteemed facilitator, Mr. Bharath Madhavan. I request Vinay sir to share his profile over here. So Mr. Bharath Madhavan, he's a heartfulness trainer. As you can see here, he has he's highly qualified and he's a graduate of IIT Madras from in the year 1990. He also has a master's in mechanical engineering from the University of Maryland. And he also has a master's in computer system networking and telecommunication, also from USA, Johns Hopkins. And you can see he has a very rich and varied experience right from 1996 to 2019. He is a professional software engineer, and he very humbly puts his awards and achievements as meditation. He has been very active in the school community and has been the driving force behind many of our Heartfulness education programs. I'm really, really happy and honored that he's with us here today. So without saying too much more, I'll hand over the session to you, Mr. Bharath. Over to you, Bharath, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Anjali. Good afternoon, dear teachers. Really happy to be here with all of you. As always, it's a pleasure to meet and interact with teachers. I do that on a daily basis these days, as I've taken up an additional role of being the correspondent of our Heartfulness school called as Lalaji Memorial Omega International School in Chennai. And really very insightful every time I talk to any group of teachers, the way they think, the way they kind of expand on ideas. It's always a specialty to interact with them and learn a lot. I mean, apart from having learned so much from teachers when I was a student in school, the journey continues in my opportunity to learn and interact from teachers. Really happy to be here with all of you in this first session of the Heartful Teacher program. I think Anjali spoke about this. We are covering it in 5 sessions, 5 very important topics, which are very essential, and she very nicely put it as soft skills, which are not that can be taught through textbooks or through curricula, but through experience and through direct perception, as we call it. And of course, there are a lot of points to cover. In the very first topic, I'll be taking up this title of the science of happiness. I'm sure we may all laugh at that topic, right? I mean, what is really there to know about the science of happiness? I mean, happiness is something that you just have or not have, but that's not true. There's a lot of science behind it, and we will touch some of these topics. But I think to begin with, I would like to request all of you to do 2 things. Typically we do this in our school as well when we conduct these online sessions, during the COVID period. All participants to enable your video and disable your audio, right? Mute yourself unless and until you want to express something when you can unmute. But please enable your videos. It will be nice to see all of us here. I mean, unless and until you have, for example, a bad bandwidth or something, please enable your videos. It will be nice to kind of see and kind of get a feel for what your eyes speak as I speak here. Okay, so I'll just get started. I have basically a simple presentation that will take us through the entire 2-hour program. The idea behind having a presentation is so that we can have a structured approach to understanding the concepts. The topics will basically cover 3 fundamental areas. One is an interactive space where we will get chance to interact with each other through various modes and modalities that Anjali spoke about. The second would be an introspective area where we can actually really go into ourselves, think about some of the points that is being presented here. And the third is informative, right? So there will be informative, interactive, and discussions that is part of this 2-hour session. So let me start my presentation. Okay, good. I hope you can see the slide. In case anyone is having any issue, you can always put it in the chat. Vinay is there, Anjali is there, Swati. We have our team assisting us here. So any problems you may be facing, you can put it in the chat and we can always address them. So let's get started. Science of happiness. All right. We are going to look at this very interesting concept. I mean, that there can be a science behind this. The session is outlined into 4 modules, I would say. Each module about 30 minutes roughly. So we can complete this whole thing in 2 hours. First, we will look at this fundamental question. What is happiness? I'm sure if there is like 300 people here, each one of you will have an answer to this question. It's a very subjective question, as they say, right? But there are something very important to consider in this question. What is happiness? So we can hear from all of you and also at the same time look at what it is all about, and also look at some source of happiness and effect of happiness in this particular module. From here, we move into the next topic, which is the how part. We call the how. First we address the what and the why, then we look into the how, right? happiness is a choice. Is it really a choice? If so, what are the choices that are in front of it? What can I do to become happier in my life? So that is this second part. The third is the science. Of course, the science is going through all these points. Even in the how part, we will talk about various aspects, including neuroplasticity, some of the latest scientific analysis and aspects that are happening in this space. And then the research in happiness, this is going to one of the oldest or the longest research that has ever been done in this topic of happiness. It will give us a good idea of some of the pitfalls that we should look out for, that we can avoid in our lives, which can make us happier. And finally, we will see how meditation can help us become happier in our lives. And we will also, as part of this fourth component or module, we'll have a short meditation session with all of us. We will sit together and meditate in this virtual environment, all of us together. So there are some reference materials that we used in preparing this module, these components that I just spoke about. The first, of course, there are many more materials, but I'm just referring to the top 4 books that we used. You can note these down. These can be helpful to you. You could, get access to these books. They are really amazing, when it comes to the research aspect and the subtler aspects of what we can do, very practical, what we can do to gain, become, happy in our lives. The How of Happiness by Sonia, it, addresses this very beautiful aspect of the sources of happiness. It talks about what can be controlled and what is out of our control and things like that. Then there is the Happiness Advantage by Sean Acker, where, he very beautifully differentiates between success and happiness, and how unfortunately many of us think success will lead to happiness, and we pursue something, and in the end it results, its results do not match what we are looking for. The third book is called 10% Happier by Dan Harris. It talks about certain very simple mind-based practices, like being mindful, like being aware, being conscious, like practicing meditation, how it can up that scale of happiness by just 10% more. But you will notice when I
Yes, you are requested to kindly wait. I think we have lost Bharath, so let us wait for him.
sorry, I got disconnected. I'm just joining back here. 1 minute, let me reshare my screen. Yeah, Anjali, I'm back here. Yeah, so the fourth book I was talking about is called hardwiring of how you what is called as our new solving typical reactive approaches. So let me move on. So what is happiness? This is the first question that we all want to ask, right? Happiness. We would like to hear from all of you in this scenario, right? For this particular question, I'm going to open up this Menti survey, and we can try to answer this question that all of us can hear. Let me share my screen for this. There's the Menti survey that you can enter your answers, and we will all see in our screen an answer to this question of what is happiness. So here is the Menti question that I have put in the chat box. You can click on this and you will be able to go into the screen, or you can go into the menti.com website and enter the code. I see already some of our teachers having started to enter their answers. Okay, inner satisfaction, self-satisfaction, that is standing out. Joy and joyful is also there. Peace, contentment, relaxed mind. A relaxed mind can lead to happiness. So I like to bring to your point here. The question is what causes happiness or what gives happiness? The question is, what is happiness? So satisfaction, contentment, and joy. I see these three words that are really strong. Peace. The words that are standing out. Emotional well-being, excellent. There are many answers coming out here. From all these answers, what is standing out as far as I am able to see here is the word peace, the word joy, and the word satisfaction, which is good, very nice. These typically comes to our mind. I think all of us will agree to this. Please enter, we can get some more people who can share. You can also put it in the chat box and we can try to, joy of giving, happiness, good thoughts, mental well-being. Okay, emotional well-being. I think well-being, that's come out very strongly here. Healthy lifestyle, excellent. Okay, good. Let me continue further. All these are very valid points that to it, which actually gives us a very clear perspective of what this happiness is about. Okay, give me a minute. Let me share my screen. Okay, good. I think many of us have answered this question, what is happiness? And we did touch on the main points, okay? But the question is not what gives happiness, but what is happiness, okay? Going into that answer, this is a beautiful point, and we will elaborate on this. Let me read this so that you can all hear. The experience of being combined with the sense that one's life is good, meaning, okay? The experience of joy, contentment, and well-being, combined with the sense that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. So what all can I take away from this sentence? The first important point is the word experience. So happiness is a feeling or an experience. It's not just something that I can think about and experience, right? It is something that I have to experience in myself. It is something that's closely associated with feelings. That is number one. Number two are these three important words: joy, contentment, and well-being, right? And which many of us said in the chat, in the mentee survey. Most of us covered this. But it is important to note that that is not enough. Just joy, contentment, and well-being alone cannot define or state a person's happiness. But it has to be combined with a sense of a purposeful, meaningful life that is worthwhile, as they are putting it here, worthwhile, meaningful, and good. So if I can try to condense this, it is a feeling of purposeful contentment. A feeling of purposeful contentment is what we can take back with us as happiness. That is, there has to be some purpose in my life. There has to be contentment at the same time with it. And that this permeates in me as an experience, as a feeling. This basically we can kind of consolidate together as what happiness means for me, for all of us. Continuing further, in the same book, The How of Happiness by Sonia, and her research, she did a research of about 200 people, which brings about this concept of the effect of happiness and the source of happiness. And some of the things that she tries to say in this effect of happiness is very interesting to see. That happy people have a longer health, they have longer life and better careers, plus they are more creative, they have longer and stronger relationships, and healthier cultures and communities. That is from the effect of happiness. And in the sources of happiness, which is what we are going to go deeper into today, it has been categorized into 3 categories. And this will make a lot of sense to all of us as we go into it further. There is a genetic baseline to which 50% of my source is attributed to. % is attributed to external factors, and the is attributed to what we call as intentional activities. So we'll find out what each of these 3 mean further and go deeper into them. Take baseline, they are associating where it is associated 50%. It basically depends on my genes, it is hardwired in a sense. Now, there are very interesting research that's going on in what is called as genes and epigenetics, epigenomes, as they call it. And I will touch on that a little bit here. You can look at it as, if you take the computer parlance, right? You can look at it as hardware and software. It's very easy to understand if you look at it that way. Software, you can keep changing. You can keep upgrading very often, or at least as often as the releases come by. Whereas hardware, it's not that easy to upgrade, right? For example, if you have a computer which has an i3 processor, you cannot just take that out and put an i5 processor. You need to pretty much rebuy or redo or buy a new motherboard, as they call it, right? You have to replace the hardware. So changing the hardware is not easy, whereas changing the software is much easier. And I will touch on this epigenetics as to what it is. The hardware or the genes is basically related to my biological and my personality traits. It does not change that easily. It's not like it does not change at all, but it's not easy to change. We cannot do much about it. This is basically my baseline, as they call it. This is the genetic baseline. On top of it, through this concept of epigenetics, which is a more of a recent research, it talks about not the genetic pattern or the genetic code, but something on top. So when we say epigenetics, it basically means on top of genes. Epi means on top of. So on top of genetics is what is called as epigenetics. So how certain things like the environment, for example, or my own mental state can influence the effect of genes on me. That is where epigenetics comes in. And so there is a lot in my control which I can change. One of the important things here is the influence of external factors in my happiness state. 10% as per this research is the phenomenon of habituation, basically the impact of all my external factors. My health, definitely if I'm in good health, it gives me a sense of happiness. Set a raise in my salary, I feel happy. My job gives me happiness. Again, depends on the boss, right? He can either give me happiness or he can give me, unhappiness or sadness, depending on his state. But all these are, unfortunately, they are outside my scope. They are external factors. There are two interesting points here. One of the very surprising things is that's only 10% of the overall factors associated with the source of happiness. This is just 10%. And more importantly, the influence of these external factors back to the baseline very soon. Back to the baseline is whatever I was, you see. So the fact that it is going to be a permanent influence on me is not true. That my external factors, while it can have an impact of just about 10%, it will revert back to the baseline very soon. So now it's lottery time. We are going to do we are going to do an activity now. We are going to do this activity based on the Zoom breakout session, which Vinay will help us with. The active groups. So let us be ready to get into this breakout. Let us assume that there is a negative trait in me by default, and suddenly I win a lottery of 10 crores as it is shown here. It is just a number, but we have won a lottery. Okay. And let us see what are the answers that we can bring out in our respect today. I don't want to give the answer. I'm sure most of you will say yes. Will you be happy 1 year from now? Now that depends on you, right? That's going to happen within your group discussion. Will you experience joy, contentment, and well-being? Again, this is a definition of happiness. Will your life be good, meaningful? Existed in our definition of what happiness can be. So let us, they can actually participate in this question.
I think since your voice was breaking, I'm not sure they were able to hear what you said accurately. So let's just make the task clear before we get into the breakout rooms. I'll just repeat what he said. So Bharath sir is saying that suppose you have a negative, yes, it's here on the chat. Suppose you have a negative frame of mind and you win a lottery. Are you going to be happy then? That is the question. We will now go into breakout rooms and discuss this question amongst our small groups. Yes, so I request Vinay sir to put us all into you will all be put into breakout rooms, and in the breakout room we are to discuss this. I hope everyone heard the question now. Okay, some are answering. We have to discuss this in the breakout room. So I request Vinay sir to please open the breakout rooms for us.
Madam, it is for how many minutes?
5 minutes. 5 minutes, Vinay. Just 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
The question is there in the chat box again. You can just go through it and you will discuss this when you get out into the breakout rooms. Okay, so I'll be starting the breakout rooms now. So there are about 500 of us.
You can select 50.
Yeah, I'll select 50 and automatically assign.
Yes, automatically.
Yeah, the time is.
You can change the time to 5 minutes.
The time option is not being given here, but
it is after you click on the create.
After 5 minutes, we'll just say all rooms will shut. Yeah.
Okay.
So please join the breakout rooms. Yeah. Rooms are not getting opened somehow. Are you having the same experience, Vinay bhai?
Yes, I am also not able to open.
I think it's okay. I think Anjali, we are getting most of the answers right here in the chat itself. All right. Let's skip the breakout, right? I think we'll test that out tomorrow and use it. Okay. I think there are many answers, and I think some are conflicting here. So, which is good, right? Because this is going to make us think, and this is important. So yes, I will be happy. Someone is saying, right? Rama Rajeshwari. Yeah, I will. There are someone who's saying money cannot bring us happiness, right? Money is not main things in life, but 10 crores is not just any money, right? It's a lot of money, right? So there's someone who has said here, lottery will promote greediness. Okay. Yes, I will use money for my family's happiness. We won't be happy, another person says. No, it is not permanent, someone says. I can use it for my future, right? All these are correct, right? All these answers are correct. There is no, like I said when I started, there is no real correct answer in this, right? but it will depend on that person's mentality also, right? I can buy happiness, materialist happiness, but not real happiness. Okay, that's another person. I will feel secure when I have 10 crores. Obviously, I will feel secure. One person has said, I will buy lots of dresses and be happy. Yes, sure. If dresses can bring you happiness, why not? Right? But we will look at that also again, ma'am. Right? There is a area where we are going to talk about desires, right? And there are ways to actually discuss about how desires are linked with happiness. And we will come to that topic as well. So I think a lot of beautiful answers have already come in the chat box. Okay. But in general, when you look at these questions that have been asked in front of us, if I win a lottery ticket of 10 crores, right, I will be happy today for sure, right? I mean, today it's going to definitely make me happy. It's going to give me a sense of euphoria. I'll be like on top of the world, literally, right? I'm sure all of you will agree to this. It's not a joke, right? Just like that, winning a 10 crore lottery, right? But what happens tomorrow? What happens day after? What happens 10 days from now? What happens 30 days from now? What happens 3 months from now, right? Do I have that capacity to deal with such a source of revenue overnight and managing my finances, right? Managing my desires properly. Will I be able to build on top of that revenue wealth that I've got? Will I be able to convert it into something that is useful and productive? All that depends on that person. It's just money alone cannot be the thing, right? So the question of whether it will really give me joy, contentment, and well-being is a subjective thing. It's not, we cannot put our foot down and say, yes, it will. Nor can we say no. Will I be happy 1 year from now? Again, the same problem, right? I can say I will be happy today, right? When that happens, but I do not know in 1 year what is going to happen, right? How I am going to live because of this change in my lifestyle, I cannot predict. Will this give me meaningful, purposeful life? Probably not, because it is just something that came by without me working for it. And this is where we are going to talk about how happiness actually has to be earned. It has to be worked for. And that is what we will cover in this next session, moving from here. So really speaking, these 40% of intentional activities as we had capped. So we said 50% was for the baseline, 10% is external, and we talked about this lottery time. Now we are going to get into the 40%, the remaining thing that is exactly actually in my control. I can work on this, right? I can work on my thoughts, my behaviors, my attitudes, my intentions, my feelings, and my emotions. All these are under my control. And when I work on this deliberately, intentionally, I can really work towards a state of happiness. And so this is where this particular research comes into. It talks about the 40% happiness margin. Purely depends on the quality of my mind. So when I spoke about all these 6 points in the previous slide, thoughts, behaviors, attitudes, intentions, feelings, and emotions, they are all nothing but the quality of my mind. A well-regulated mind, a pure and simple heart, free from emotional burden, free from emotional baggage, helps me to lead that have a control over that 40%. This 40% is intentional. It is under my control. And I'm sure all of us will agree to this question, to this point, right? That I can work while there are some parts that's not in my control. There is definitely a good margin of change that I can bring about in my life. And this leads us to the second module we call happiness is a choice. Now, if happiness is a choice, does that mean I can earn it? I can just buy it? I can just go to a shop and buy it? Obviously not. I think going back to this, one of our teachers said, I can buy happiness by buying a lot of clothes, a lot of dress, right? And that's going to make me happy. Yes, probably it's going to make you happy today for sure, right? But when we say it is a choice, what exactly do we mean? Okay. We mean three very important points. I think it will be useful if you can just note this down. Happiness is a choice. When we say happiness is a choice, we mean that it is intentional. That basically means that I can put my intent behind it. Just my intent is not enough. My efforts have to be backed by that intent. So there is effort and then there is intent. And through regular training, I can actually come up with this concept of choosing happiness in my life. And there are 12 important factors that contribute to the how of happiness, as we said, that it can actually increase my happiness. All these 12 points are captured here in the next 2 slides. We will go through this just one at a time for all of us to kind of introspect. So as I go through it, do not just accept what I say, but introspect, absorb this in yourself. The very first point we talk about here is expressing gratitude. Increase my happiness. Cultivating a positive mindset will increase my happiness. Avoiding social comparison and overthinking. You see, today the entire world is running on social comparisons. What does the other person have, right? Before I even know what I have, I want to know what the other person got. You see that in children a lot, unfortunately, today, due to the comparative environment, right? Competitive and comparative environment. We are always, before I open my gift, the child is wanting to know what the other child got and what he open his gift, right? His or her gift. And I am thinking back to our, younger days, the social comparison. If I remember right, the first advertisement, I very strongly, when I was a child, I could remember this ad of Onida, right? It said, neighbors envy, pride. I mean, what a sad definition of promoting a particular program, right? Where just because I own something, it is going to cause envy to my neighbor and it is going to cause pride in me. Will that give me happiness is a question we should all ask ourselves, and not just answer here, right? But really introspect, brood over the fact that, will I be happy just because my neighbor is suffering? Just think about it, right? Or just because my neighbor does not have what I have, right? And this is where we in Heartfulness try to distinguish and differentiate between having and becoming. And having can never, ever give us happiness. The fourth point is practicing acts of kindness. One act of kindness, and many schools are practicing this, by the way, right? You can also try it in your own school along with your students. Practice one act of kindness per day and see the about in your own mindset. Nurturing good, positive relationships and developing strategies for coping. We are all living in a stressful world. I don't think we can deny that. But there are ways of coping up with stress. Meditation is one such tool, but there are several tools like that which I can adopt in my own lifestyle to be able to cope with various stress and problems that I face in my life. Learning to forgive. It's an amazing tool that if I can put to practice in my life, it will bring about such a change. And like they say, to forgive is easy, to forget is much more difficult. Let us start with forgive, right? Forget is not that easy, but let's start at least with forgiving. Doing the activities that truly engage you, right? As teachers, we typically are involved in the delivery of our own lesson plans and classes. But if I can involve myself in certain activities that will truly engage me, apart from these day-to-day routines, it will definitely increase my ability to get involved and to bring about happiness in my life. Savoring life's joys, being able to absorb and intensify the joys, simple joys of life that I have with me today, not looking for something that is something that I don't have, but just savoring what I have with me. Committing to my goals. Again, going back to the definition of happiness, just being joyful or content is not enough, but to associate it with some kind of purpose in our lives. And we as teachers, we are really blessed in that sense that we are working on the future generation and committing to achieving those goals, those mission statements that are associated with my engagement as a teacher can really take me to the next level. Practicing religion and spirituality, any type, right? It really doesn't matter. Whatever type of religion or spirituality that we practice can definitely increase happiness. You can safely say that one who is an atheist versus one who is a believer, by default, the believer always will be just that tad happy because he has something to hold on to, he or she. Then taking care of your body, working on your health, going for walks, nature walks, getting on the treadmill, all these directly increase our level of happiness. Now, what is missing? Something is missing here. We shared 12 different aspects. Yes, there is Lata Venkatesh talking about yoga. It's again amazing tool. It goes into that the health part of what can contribute towards happiness. But there's something that's missing, that we all thought would be here, but it is not. Meditation is there, right? I mean, we said spirituality and religion. So definitely introspection, meditation is present. Something that we thought. So I'm bringing up these 2 points here. Typically, most of us, whether we are teachers or parents, when we interact with our children, we think and we kind of convey this message to our children as well, right? That by being intelligent, one can succeed in life, and through success, happiness will come. But if you see in this 12 points that was mentioned, both these were missing. You see, both IQ or intelligence and success. This is coming from the research that has been done by many of these people, that I shared with in the beginning. As a matter of fact, both IQ and success actually are not related to happiness at all. As a matter of fact, most intelligent and successful people typically become lonely, and loneliness is a cause for sadness, and it leads to unhappiness. Actually, it's opposite of happiness. So this is something that we should take with, that social and emotional wellness, mental wellness are much more important than intellectual quotient or success as it is normally looked upon in today's world. There is another way to look at this entire happiness. This is a beautiful way of looking at it. We have a formula here. It is basically looking into how desires can lead to happiness. We all can very easily understand this formula. It is not difficult at all. Total number of desires and the number of desires fulfilled. So if, let us say, I have a certain set of desires, and if all my desires get fulfilled, my happiness should go up, right? That is common sense. Most of us would be thinking like that. As you can see here, it is a fraction, and there are many math teachers here, hopefully, right? And a fraction can be increased in its value in 2 ways. One is by increasing the numerator, or another is by, if you can tell me, what is another way of increasing a fraction? One is by increasing the numerator, as we just spoke, right? Increasing the number of desires, decreasing the denominator. Absolutely. Pooja ma'am has put it here, Ekta as well. So one, you increase the numerator or you decrease the denominator. By making either way, you will be able to achieve in increasing this fraction, so thereby achieving this happiness quotient, as we call it. So let us hear from Daji himself on how we can increase to achieve happiness. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me play this video.
If one wants to have infinite happiness, infinite bliss, then we ought to minimize numbers of desires, from more and more of it to less and less, and finally, if possible, have infinite happiness, infinite bliss, then we ought to minimize numbers of desires, from more and more of it to less and less, and finally, if possible, to zero. Hello, everyone. In today's session, I would like to cover perhaps the most interesting topic. We all seek happiness, emotional support, and a loving relationship. So we'll talk today at length, not so much in details, but some principles which governs the laws of happiness, how to increase emotional intelligence and better our relationships. Let me start this session with a quote from German philosopher Schopenhauer. He asked, how can we determine whether a man is happy or unhappy? He defined true happiness as the complete satisfaction of all desires. Is it possible? You could say that the happiness of a person can be described mathematically. One of those lighter moments, this equation came as an inspiration. Like if all the desires are fulfilled, let's say you had 10 desires. And out of these 10 desires, all 10 desires are fulfilled. That means 10 divided by 10 times 100 will be 100% happiness, isn't it? Let's say if out of 10, only 5 are fulfilled, then it would be 50%. But think of an individual who says he has no desires. The total number would be 0. So what would happen to this equation? Happiness is equal to desires fulfilled divided by total number of desires. Where total number of desires tend to be 0, anything you divide by 0 remains indeterminate factor. Earlier days we used to call it as infinite. In a desireless state, we don't expect anything. When you expect nothing, you accept everything, no matter what happens around us. When we realize that something is beyond me, I'm pushed into a certain situation where I have no other choice but to accept that scenario. That's a good situation, though it can bring about a lot of turbulence and turmoils in life. But accepting whatever be the situation helps us. Suppose you don't accept certain thing that has happened in family, and you go on fighting. What do you learn out of this? But the moment we learn things wisely, we accept, because your heart says, because your heart feels that love. Love makes us forget all kinds of defects in others. And it is out of this, is out of compassion.
Okay. Now, continuing further, I think that video kind of very clearly helped us understand, there are ways to deal with desires, and acceptance is the first step towards it. We now talk about happy hormones. There are 4 hormones here that we will touch upon. These are basically chemicals that are released in our brain: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. Dopamine is called as the reward chemical. Basically, you achieve something, you feel good. And we have all experienced this, right? When a child comes back home after an exam and he says, I did well, you can see it in his face, in his or her face, right? The beauty of this is we can actually apply this in our own lives as teachers. Not just for ourselves, but for our children. In your own classrooms, celebrating small little wins. You see, let's say your classroom, some student did something. Recognize it, celebrate, right? Everyone claps. This releases this dopamine in not just that student, but in all the class, right? Thereby triggering what we call as the happy hormones. Oxytocin, this is applicable more for smaller children, very small children, right? Where you're playing with a dog or playing with a baby, touching, hugging. These releases what is called as the oxytocin or the love hormone. Then the serotonin, this is amazing concept. It's called as the mood stabilizer or the balancer. Meditation is one of the important tools that actually helps release this, where it brings about balance in our lives. Getting exposed to sun, walking in nature, swimming, all these triggers the serotonin levels in us. And finally, the endorphin chemical, which is the painkiller, right? Whenever we are in pain, this gets released. And like they say, laughter is the best medicine. It's nothing but releasing this endorphin when we laugh, when we watch a comedy, or even just read a small comic strip. It changes our mood, the mindset almost immediately. And all these things, why we are talking about here is you as being teachers can use all these tools, by telling a nice small story to your children, reading a Calvin and Klein, Calvin Hobbes, Calvin and Hobbes comic strip, or something that triggers a very small change in smaller kids as well as bigger kids. You can try all these things and understand, first of all, right, that by doing these things, we are able to release these happy hormones. We are looking at another video now to trigger these happy hormones. And you can see here there are 3 points: the fingertip of the middle finger, the third finger, then the middle point, and then the tip of the point in the hand. All these 3 points, this video will help us understand how to trigger it. And I would request all the teachers to kind of walk through as he is doing it. Please try this out. You will see a big difference in just yourself. When I play this video, please do as he is guiding us in this video. Dr. Alan Mendel is going to share with us now in this video.
Welcome, everyone. Dr. Mandel here. There's no question that stress weakens our system. It causes that fight or flight, that adrenaline, that cortisol that's secreted throughout our bloodstream. Welcome, everyone. Dr. Mandel here. There's no question that stress weakens our system. It causes that fight or flight, that adrenaline, that cortisol that's secreted throughout our bloodstream, raising our heart rate, causing sweatiness and dizziness, affecting our digestion, and affecting other bodily systems. Here is a technique that I want to share with you that's going to combat your stress. It's going to allow you to sleep better, relax, and take away that anxiety. We're going to stimulate 3 points that are directly lined up with each other. If you look at the chart here, right at the tip of the third finger, that's going to be your anxiety point. In the middle of the hand, that's going to be the stress point. And right where the hand meets the wrist, that's going to be the point for insomnia, to help you sleep better. We're going to stimulate these 3 points in this order. By doing so, we're working this meridian. That's going to cause stimulation up to the brain, to the nervous system. The brain then will secrete those happy and relaxing hormones throughout your system, giving you that tranquility, that instant relaxation, that feeling of serenity. We're going to stimulate 3 points in order, starting from the third finger to the middle of the hand and then the wrist area. As we stimulate this, we're going to apply pressure with our thumb on the front part of our third finger with our other finger behind it. And you need to apply firm pressure, and you hold it for 30 seconds. And while holding it, you're going to feel a sensation or a change coming over your brain, behind the eyes, or behind the nasal region. Then after, you're going to go right to the middle of the hand, using the thumb again, the finger behind it, and you're going to squeeze the middle of the hand right there. As you apply it, you're compounding that reaction that's going on from the previous acupressure point. You should continue to feel more sensations as you hold this second point. After 30 seconds, you're going to go right below the wrist where it meets the hand. Right in this area, you'll feel like an indentation. Do not go on the bone right below the hand. And you're going to continue to apply 30 more seconds of deep, firm acupressure. By applying pressure to each point, starting from the third finger, working your way down, even though you're working different points for anxiety, stress, and insomnia, when you compound all these points together, the technique is that much more effective. So when your mind and body needs to wind down, this technique is going to do miracles for you.
Okay, so that was another technique, right? So we are looking at various ways and means that can help us, and these are simple techniques which we can all apply ourselves. Coming back, we move to the next topic, which is called neuroplasticity. This basically talks about the ability that we have to change our brain's functioning and its structure through my activities, my own activities and my life and my experiences. I can rewire in a sense. And it works on 2 fundamental principles. The neurons that fire together, they get wired together. So it's like forming a circuit constantly. And if you don't use that circuit often enough, soon you will lose it. So this is the way of wiring between the first 5 years of age. The ability in formation and reformation of neural pathways is very rapid in the first 5 years of life. And this is the reason why young children, you would have all noticed, they are able to unlearn, learn, and relearn various habits along these early years of their lives. And these are some things that we as people in the education field can really put to effect and help unlearn various negative habits and routines and replace them with more positive ones in children, especially in children. Now we'll see a short video on this neuroplasticity in action. And you will understand that such a thing is possible in all of us. Let me play this video, just 1 minute.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed became adults. Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-traveled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep traveling that road, our brains begin to use more, and thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
Okay, so that was what they called as neuroplasticity in action, right? You can see that these neural pathways can actually be rewired, but I mean, it's easier to see it on a video, but for it to really happen in my own life, I have to work for it. It's not as what is said in that video. But one of the beautiful points about this is that it is very easy, especially in children. So to cultivate a positive neuroplasticity, to really work on my positive energies and optimism, what are the things that I can do? So the Hardwiring Neuroplasticity book, where which I was referring to in the beginning, very nicely talks about 4 very simple steps that all of us can take over a period of time. So for example, let us say I am driving to my school and an auto rickshaw driver cuts across me, along the way. I get angry and I shout at him, right? This is a habit. This is something every time it happens, every time I get angry, I get upset for whatever reason, right? I mean, the reason here is that he is driving so rash and cutting across. How can I work on this? Can I cultivate a positive neuroplasticity to deal with this situation? Actually, yes, we can. Actually, you can deal with any of these situations, not just this. Let's say a situation in your classroom, something that irritates you. You can easily rewire that, rework on it, and change almost immediately with just putting the following steps into practice. The very first step, obviously, is pause. Because most of the times, we react to situations in a very emotional way without understanding its consequences. The first thing is press the pause button. And this is where, again, meditation is an amazing tool that can help us in applying this pause in our lives, a meaningful pause in our lives. The second is to feel the current moment and See if there are these 12 points that we spoke about. You can practice any one of these to really make life better for you rather than reacting in the typical way that you would be doing. That feeling of positive energy we can savor as the third step. Really get it absorbed into myself, understand it, becoming mindful and aware of that positive energy in me, allowing it to spread completely through my system, and moreover to the people that are near and dear to me, who are around me. These 4 steps can very easily cultivate positive neuroplasticity and bring about change through my system. Now we'll quickly talk about, I think we are running a little late in time, so we will go through the research part a little fast. This is purely informative. It is information for all of us on this longest study of happiness that was done in the Harvard University. It was started in 1938. The study at that time included 268 people who were, intelligent, wise, rich, poor. It had a variety of people. Even John F. Kennedy was part of the first original group. Of course, many people have passed on from the time that research and even continuing today with the remaining set of people who are part of it. They collected all kinds of health information. They did interview every 2 years, questioning about their lives, their mental and emotional and physical wellness, and even interviewed family members. Understanding that came out of that research by a person named Dr. Robert Waldinger, who was the actual director of this research, was that there are 2 points here. Social connections are really good for us, and that loneliness kills. Let me repeat, social connections are really good for us and loneliness kills. Okay. These 2 points are very critical. I would like to just hear from all of you. We'll just use the chat box today. Let's not worry about the breakout room that we can think of using tomorrow. So in the chat box, I would like to hear from you on 3 questions I want to put forth in front of all of us. Okay. The 3 questions are, when we say social, what does it mean to you? I'm going to put this in the chat box. When we say social connection, what does it mean to you? It's the first question. Loneliness kills. Do you all agree to this statement? And the third, slightly more interesting and important question is there a difference between being alone and being lonely? So I see many of you are responding back here in the chat, and thanks for this. It's beautiful to see so many of you are engaging with us. Meeting and communicating, beautiful. Kumud Chandra ma'am, I think we will be touching on connections very soon, by the way, connecting people. Thank you for sharing. So being lonely versus being alone, please think about that while you are answering these first 2 questions as well. So we said social connections, what does it mean for you? The second question was loneliness kills, do you agree to it? And the third question is, what is the difference between being lonely and being alone? Is there a difference at all? Okay, good. I think everyone is kind of aligning with this point that yes, they are different. Loneliness is a difficult problem. I think everyone's agreeing to it. Social connections basically is talking about how we can connect with meaningful relationships. being alone and being lonely are different. Okay, good. That's a good point. We want to really talk about that particular point before we even go to the next slide. Please continue to share your points here while I continue a little further on this point of being alone versus being lonely. So right now I am alone, right? In my room, I am all alone here. And I am sure many alone in your own rooms. It's a physical thing, right? I am alone with me in my room. But being lonely, am I lonely today? Now, I'm absolutely not. I am here communicating with 400 more people, right? So there is no way I can call myself being lonely right now, even though I am alone. So being alone and being lonely are two different things. I can be in a room full of people, right? I can be in a very large family with my children, my spouse, my parents, in-laws, grandparents, etc. But I could still be lonely. And at the same time, I could be alone, but I am still connected with many people. So they are absolutely not the same. So when I'm saying I'm alone, how can I be not lonely, right? Think about that, right? I can be alone, but not lonely. That is by connecting myself with many things, right? Either with my children, with my family, with my spouse, with my parents, with my work, with my children in school, with my friends. I could be connected, or with my God, right? It can be a connection that can be permanent, that I can always rely on. Even though I may be alone, I can never be lonely. So please consider this for your understanding. It is okay to be alone, but it is never okay to be lonely. See how you can put this to practice. Either when you are with people, I mean, I could be having all the entertainment I need, right? I could be watching IPL, but I could still feel lonely. You see, so they are two different things. To being alone and to being lonely are two very, very different things. And it is very essential to know that I can be with people or I can be alone, but I should never be lonely. And the impact of loneliness, this is coming out of this Harvard research. It has a strong impact on the physical health as well as the mental health. It affects our mortality, our obesity, the risk of smoking, stroke, high blood pressure, and resulting in disability as well. And these are various data that came from that research. And not just at the physical level, the same thing applies at the mental level as well. Loneliness affecting mental health in that sense that it affects our cognitive decline, clinical dementia, prone to depression, and even to the level of suicide. So this is where we have to start asking some very, very fundamental questions when we are dealing with this difficult topic of loneliness, as to what can I let go. For that, I have to first ask what is important for me. Do not sweat the small stuff. Let go of past failures. And some of the interesting points that this research brings out is that older people are typically better at handling loneliness and ability to let go by being in the present moment and by being happy and here and now. And further, in the same research, they're talking about connections and the quality of relationships. Connect and communicate. This is a big message that Heartfulness in all our programs, our Inspire programs, also we talk about this. And we connect heart to heart, right? In a classroom, I can connect with all my students in just one single thought that I am connected with, a feeling that I'm connected with all my students in class. Happiness relating to connections. Good quality relationships is extremely important. And how environment influences happiness. We touched upon this, and we also talked about positive relationships. So now we come to the fourth part, the component of our program, where we are going to talk about meditation and happiness. This is where we will take about 10-15 minutes and practice meditation, and Anjali and her team will help us guide through this. I'll quickly cover on what is happiness, what is heartfulness? Sorry. It is a very simple tool, set of practices that include relaxation, rejuvenation, meditation, etc. I think Anjali covered this right in the beginning of how one can live our life with the guidance from the heart. This particular set of practices help us to connect with our heart, regulate our mind, nurtures our inner strengths and attitudes, helps us to drive towards inner excellence and overall well-being. And when I said excellence, that's an important word, right? You can notice that I did not use the, because it's always in my control. It is within my ambit of work that anything I may do, I can try to excel, whereas success is not 100% in my control. And excellence and happiness and meditation, they are all linked to each other. And we will see the simple formula now. Through a series of questions, you can ask yourself these questions. Can excellence be achieved through happiness? You see, it's like a chicken and egg in a sense, right? Excellence and happiness are interlinked very much. That one who is happy can excel in whatever he's working on. And when one has excelled in something, it can also give happiness. Can happiness be realized without inner harmony? We talked about the 40% of happiness that is related to the mindset. This inner harmony cannot be felt without a contemplative nature. A contemplative nature in a person is not possible without focused thinking. And focused thinking cannot be developed without a regulated mind, a well-regulated mind. And a well-regulated mind is achievable through a meditation practice. So meditation is a direct link to inner harmony, leading to happiness and leading to excellence. With this, I now hand it over to Anjali, and we will go through a short meditation practice now. And after the meditation session, we have a short mentee survey with about 3 or 4 more questions in which all of us can participate and you can share our thoughts and our ideas with respect to some of the questions that we ask. Anjali, over to you.
Thank you, Bharath sir. That was really interactive, and it would have been even more lovely if we had been able to go into the breakout rooms, but unfortunately that was not possible. But I think the next best thing we were able to do, which is interact on the chat box, and that was really, really enthusiastic participation from everyone. So now, as Bharath sir has said, let us get into the experience of heartfulness meditation. Some of you may have already experienced, but there might be many who are new. So I'll just briefly tell you what we are going to do. We're going to experience 2 techniques right now. One is relaxation. And after that, we'll be getting to the meditative state. Relaxation, we'll be relaxing all parts of our body, starting from our toes, going up to the head, very similar to Yoga Nidra during Shavasana, but we're going to do it in a sitting position. And the second thing we'll be doing is meditation. I will be guiding you through it. You have to just listen to the suggestions and do whatever you're listening to. All right. So I request everyone to please be seated very comfortably and close your eyes very softly and very gently. Take a deep breath in and let go. Let's begin with the toes. Wiggle your toes. And now feel them relax. Feel a relaxing energy move up through the soles of your feet, through your ankles, your calves, right up to your knees. Relax all the muscles in your thighs. Feel this relaxing energy move up through your hips, your stomach, your abdomen, and deeply relax your waist. Very gently move your awareness to your back. Feel the relaxing energy move up through your lower back, the middle of your back, reaching up to the top of your back. Your entire back is now feeling completely relaxed. Feel this relaxing energy now spread all over your chest area and flow through your shoulders, completely relaxing your chest and shoulders. Feel all the stress simply melting away through your shoulders. Feel the relaxing energy now flow from your shoulders through your upper arms, till your elbows, into your forearms, your wrists, your hands, right up to your fingertips, relaxing your entire arms. Let the relaxing energy now flow up to your neck, relaxing all the muscles in your neck. Gently bring your awareness to your head. Feel this relaxing energy move through your jaw and your chin. This energy now moves up through your face, relaxing all the muscles in your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your eyebrows, all your facial muscles, your forehead, your cheeks, your earlobes, all the muscles in your scalp, right up to the roots of your hair. Experience how your entire body is now completely relaxed. Very gently. Now bring your awareness to your heart. Give a suggestion that the source of divine light is already present in your heart and it is attracting your attention from within. Feel immersed in the love and light present in your heart. We will now meditate in silence for a few moments. If thoughts come, simply ignore them. If your mind wanders, remind yourself there's divine light in the heart and come back. Give all these suggestions very, very gently, very easily. You will meditate in silence until you hear further suggestions. You will not hear my voice for some time. Let us all meditate. Please start meditation. That's all. Keep your eyes closed and take a few seconds to think about what you just experienced during meditation. How were you feeling before? What happened during meditation? And most importantly, how are you feeling now? Take a few seconds to think about all these things. When you feel ready, you can gently open your eyes. So would you like to share how are you feeling? How was the experience of meditation? Yeah. The meditation was amazing, someone said. Feeling very relaxed, feeling calm, feeling fresh. Wonderful. It was an amazing experience. Got relaxed. It was really wonderful. Yes, so that's the impact of Heartfulness meditation. That's the power of yogic transmission. That even sitting so far apart, everyone is feeling the impact of it. All body parts have to gently relax. It's useful and fruitful session. Bhumi ma'am is saying. Feeling good and so much peace of mind. Feeling so refreshed, relaxed, feeling calm and collected. Lata ma'am is saying many thoughts came in between. That's absolutely fine, Lata ma'am. Most important is how are you feeling right now after the meditation? If now you're feeling relaxed, it doesn't matter what happened during meditation. The impact of the meditation will be felt after it's over. So relaxing, but still had a lot of thoughts. That's all right. As long as you're feeling very relaxed now, it doesn't matter what happened. It was an amazing experience, feeling fresh and energetic. Thank you very much for this wonderful experience. हमेशा की तरह ऊर्जादायक लगा, हिमानी मैम कह रही है. Yes, it was really stressless section of meditation, relaxing, wonderful. Thank you, beautiful spiritual, feeling relaxed. Deepa ma'am is saying, actually I slept in between, now feeling refreshed. Is it wrong, feeling sleepy? That's a very good sharing, ma'am. Actually, that is the meditative state, which you thought that you're sleeping. It's actually, you have experienced samadhi avastha. It looks like you're sleeping, but it's actually not sleep, because imagine how deeply can you sleep within a few minutes. It's not possible. And now if you're feeling very fresh, that means you are not sleeping, you are in the meditative state. Because if you were sleeping, you would have felt a little dull and lazy after coming out. So congratulations, Deepa ma'am, that you have actually experienced that state today. Wonderful. So don't worry about the thoughts that came. What's important is how are you feeling now. Shiva ma'am is saying feeling a headache. Witness the pain relief slowly. Okay, ma'am. Make sure that when you're giving the suggestion, you're not putting any force on your mind. Then you will not get a headache because of the suggestion. If you were suffering from it from before, I'm glad you're feeling relieved from it right now. Krishna ma'am said, I slept, but I'm feeling relaxed now. So that, as I said, that is not sleep, it's the meditative state. And very good. So I'm very happy to hear the good responses. So thank you very much for sharing that, everyone. And it was, this meditation was a perfect ending to a beautiful evening, isn't it? And dear friends, now this brings us to the end of today's session. We would like to thank our facilitator, Bharath sir, for coming and giving such a beautiful, energetic, meaningful session with practical experiences, so many videos, so much of interaction. I think it was just outstanding. Thank you so much, Bharath sir. And it was very, very enriching. I'm sure everyone agrees with me without exception. So thank you, my dear teachers, educators, principals, school management officials, everyone who's there in the session today. We are so honored and so happy that you have joined us today. And we hope you enjoyed the experience. And we really look forward to interacting with all of you tomorrow. Same time. Tomorrow we're going to have another topic. and that's going to be equally enriching. We also have a wonderful facilitator tomorrow and each day of these 5 days. So make sure you don't miss it. In case your friends had registered and didn't join, tell them they're most welcome to join from tomorrow also. It's not a problem. And so looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye from us at Heartfulness. And we hope you have a lovely evening ahead. Goodbye. Yes, thank you everyone. If there are no questions, we can end the meeting right now.